Hi, everybody. This is your girl, Liana Michelle, and this is Faithfully Her. I'm excited today because we have a super beautiful queen on our show with us today. She is the owner of Array of Life Home Care. She is the author of Every Moment Needs Some Light, published on GC4 Enterprises. She is a youth pastor and is currently the assistant pastor at Fresh Fire Family Ministries. She is a motivational speaker, a spiritual counselor, and a mentor. Everyone, please put your hands together and welcome for me, Miss Sharon Jackson.
Thank you.
Yay! Did you hear the clap?
I did.
Okay.
I did hear it.
Awesome! Yay! So again, I want to thank you for coming on and taking the time to spend some time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor. It's truly a blessing, and we really give all honor, praises, and glory to God for this work, for this project, for GC4, for navigating the path for so many people, again, to be healed, restored, and redeemed. So we thank you. Yes.
Well, I am excited to talk to you. I'm excited all the time to talk to my GC4 family. As you see, you are all here. I was just telling Rita, like, girl, I'm gonna have to get a real bookshelf in a minute because we need some space going on here. But I'm so excited about everything that she's doing and the artists that she's putting out. And I want to get into your book. So let's talk about Every Moment Needs Some Light. Tell us about it.
So with Every Moment Needs Some Light, it's a collage of my life, obviously in 52 pages. We can say one for every day of the year, but truly we know we're working with 50 some odd years of my life, but just snippets of what I've gone through, what I've seen, what I've experienced, but not only that, what I've felt. So when we talked about every moment needs some light, in reality, every moment does, because we go through dry seasons and we go through seasons of chaos, and then we go through seasons of plenty, and we go through seasons where it seems barren and it seems scarce. So every moment needs some light. So just in writing this, and Rita and I collaborating, playing with this title song, God really, really blessed it.
Amen. And you know, that is so true. And as I was reading the information on you, and I know that you are a part of multiple nonprofit organizations, so I can imagine doing that community work and working with young folks. You probably are seeing and hearing a lot. So can we talk a little bit about some of the things that you've experienced? And first, I want to ask you what D4D is. Can you tell us what that stands for, what it's about, and then what that experience is for you?
So D4D is Divas for Divas. And for years, I've been kind of stalking, if I can use that word, this organization. And I've had some affiliation with the president. And I was going to join one year, and then my sister decided we weren't going to join, we were going to join together. And so one day I was like, I'm doing this without you. Because it's a community service organization built around women that serves the community. And matter of fact, we had a service project this morning where we went into a group home, a local group home, and we played games with the children, and we gave away gift cards with the children and just interacted with the children. And it was a very monumental moment for me because I used to work at this group home in leadership. So to be able to go back on the other side where I gave so much for so many of my life, day in and day out there, to go back just on that side of the spectrum, really, some of them knew it, but others didn't. It was a twofold thing for me this morning, but very eye-opening to see that some things have changed. And that's what we're about. A lot of community service, a lot of helping families. I can remember a family got burned out, and she reached out to us because it's a local chapter, but they also have other chapters to give. And I went to this one home to take some items to give. And there was a woman there, and it almost reminds me of the story about Jesus and the woman that he met at the well. And the lady there began to unfold so much. So again, even through D4D, every moment needs some light.
Yes. So let me ask you, you being especially working as a youth pastor and a spiritual counselor, how do you inspire or encourage that family that has just been burnt out of their home, or that single mom that's now lost her job, or you know what I'm saying, just got an eviction notice, and now you know what I'm saying, when it rains it pours on people, it really really does, and it can take you to that place of just complete pity and darkness and her, just that depression. So how are you inspiring or encouraging, like what motivation do you provide to help them find that light in those moments?
So one of the things, and I think foremost, is prayer.
Yes.
We have to be able to pray with the people, because we have to be able to be touched with what the people are going through. And so if you're able to be touched with other people are going through, then at some point it should resonate in your spirit. And so we go from touching through prayer to also talking about what resources can I offer, or what people can I connect with, because I am connected to a wealth of knowledge. I have friends that own businesses, and people in the community that are willing to help. And then I also spearhead an organization that's called Strong Women in Christ, which is a prayer movement. And then we also give to our community. So that's a band of women that pull together resources to help other people. And so, after prayer and extended the resources, because I am an early Head Start provider, I work from my home and I service families with children from 6 weeks to 12 years old. A lot of times there's a lot more resources that come our way as home providers. So we're able to extend those offers to people too, and kind of just walk with them. Keep walking with them, keep reaching out to them, and one thing we have to understand, and people need to know, that we won't leave them. Because sometimes they really just need someone to talk them through that avenue, talk them through that hard place. Even a relationship, talk them through that hard place, and they'll find their way. And I had to learn, everybody does not want to be saved.
Amen.
So, once you walk with them and you pour it out and you've given, and you see the pattern becomes one that only receives and always want to receive. And when you try to get them to pour out, in the smallest of matter, because sometimes things have to be tested in every season. We know we go through tests. So those are just some snippets of my community advocacy with D4D. My business, as well as a home daycare provider, and just even with Strong Women in Christ.
And let me just put this out here, you guys. Miss Sharon Jackson does have a 5-star rating for her home health care, her home care. Okay, so she ain't holding y'all up. She ain't slacking on y'all. She giving you that, okay, 5-star rating. I said, oh, look at my sister doing it over there.
We thank God for the opportunity. And even in that, if I may elaborate, that is part of ministry. That is part of giving back. Because I have people that have not gained that acclimate in the state of Alabama. And so this is a statewide collaborative, but even with that, I get to share moments of light with other providers who may have tried or who's nervous about starting, and gear them in the right way. And even with that, I was only going to get 2, to be honest. I was going to get me a 2. I was going to step it up. I was going to step the money up. And one other home provider, she's like, no, we do this every day. Get a 5. And I was like, no, I don't think I want a 5. And she's like, go ahead. Started the journey, could not stop the journey. And the young lady that came out, she was amazing. And when I got my results back, it was a 5-star rating. So even with that, I'm able to help other people obtain the same credential that God allowed me to get.
Now, you said a few things earlier that I really wanted to kind of touch on a little bit more. One of the things that you said that I really, really like is, working with children, you learn a lot. I
Yes.
work with the autistic community of babies. So they teach you way more than I think I teach them. I'm like, they teach you, I'm like, oh my God, that's new. So
They do.
they teach you so much. They're so intelligent. They're intelligent little creatures, and they're soaking up all of everything that's around them. How does that encourage and motivate you each day? And I'm saying this because there was a point in time where I was in that dark space, and I was depressed, and I was sad, and this and that and that and the other. And then I got a case, and that case, that little baby's face, just I couldn't help but to love it, and I started noticing those clouds lifting. I was excited to get up every day just to go and hang out with this little girl, you know what I'm saying, like everything. Absolutely. And here we are years later, and I've seen so much growth in this babe, and it's so inspiring. So I'm wondering, do you feel that same sense of love, or that burst of energy being with these babies every day?
I do. And you said something that was so key. A lot of times they heal us.
Yes.
That relationship with them. And I'm just thinking of children. About 2 weeks ago, a young man that I had at 3 and 4, maybe 2 and 3, and he would show some behavior issues, and Dad brought him by last week for him to visit me before he went to kindergarten. But not only that, you got some come in, they're bubbly, you got some that's come in that's kind of dry, and you get an opportunity to continue to sow and pour in their lives and give them those hugs, and they give you those smiles. And my changing table is kind of high, so when I'm finished changing them, I got one little girl. She stands up on the changing table, and I lean over, and she reaches for me. She wants to give me a kiss on my cheek. And she'll say, "I love you, Sharon." And I'll say, "And I love you." And she'll give me a hug as I let her down. So that began to be our ritual. When I got through, I had to lean in so that she can give me a kiss on my cheek, and we're moving from the day. But I've seen so much progression in her life. I've seen so much progression and her blooming and her blossoming and who she really has become. And to the fact that I really didn't want her to leave me, because a lot of times we get them, and these babies are pearls, and we open them up, and I mean, just the beauty of what's inside of them. And so then we begin to draw out of them. We begin to teach them self-regulation skills. We begin to teach them independency, and we begin to teach them more, and they begin to teach us, like you said, more about us than we ever know about them. So every day is a very eventful day in a Ray of Life, and every day, because they're learning so much, and like teaching us so much.
But you're right about the healing. I remember when I first got diagnosed with lupus, and my skin started changing, and I felt so self-conscious, and oh my God, and I was working at a mental health facility with adults or whatever. And it's okay, but you still have that self-conscious feeling if you're coming to work without makeup on today. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like you gotta be covered, you gotta be right, because adults ask questions.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that children don't, but children respond differently. So when I left working with adults and just immersed myself into just working with children only, they would come up and they would touch my face, and they would just smile. And sometimes they would say, "Miss Leanna, what's wrong?" And I'll say, "Oh, baby, this is how God made me." And they'll say, "Wow, God makes everybody different," and instead of them going further into, did you have a car accident? Were you burned? Did this happen?
Yeah.
They're just like, and you know, that one moment. And then after that, it's over, it's done. We never address it again. They never pay attention to it again. They just happy I show up every day.
Exactly.
And like you said, that touch and that hug and all of that. And then it started making me feel more okay with my appearance, because they didn't see me as a monster. They didn't see me as scary. They just love Miss Liana. As long as I show up every day, they happy.
Yeah. Exactly. And they begin to, children accept us for who we are.
Yeah.
We put so much into trying to become when we already, I told myself, nothing catches God by surprise, because he preordained this thing that we call life. Right. So he knows the very number of hairs on our head. He knows what we're gonna go through, he knows how we're gonna respond. So when God, and even as an affirmation to you, those babies needed that. Yeah. They needed to be able to rub your face and to ask you what's going on. And those babies needed to know that, guess what? She came today, so she's okay. So can you imagine the comfort that you offered to them, that you showed up, even when your heart didn't feel like it, you showed up because you knew your purpose. So you knew that day, guess what? It needed some light. Those babies, they needed some light. And so you showed up to be the light that they can examine. Because so many times when we work with these children, so many people are so untouchable. That foster these children's development. They're so untouchable, but we have to be able to allow them to rub our skin. We have to be able to say, oh, you know what? Your eyes look different today. Did you change the color in your eyes? Because now they're learning about color. So we are their experiment. And so we have to be able to be open, to be visible with them. So I decree that was the light that those babies needed. You were that light.
Yeah, and they were my light. But you know, speaking to affirmations, one of the things that I do have on my mirror that I tell myself daily, regardless of how I feel, is, first of all, you wake up feeling blessed, be appreciative, thank God for every moment. But I also remind myself to it says, be a ray of sunshine for someone else today. Give a smile, share a hug. It's okay. So one of the things I just read, and I try to make sure of that. So whether I'm in a grocery store or anything, I just find myself just goofily smiling at people for no reason. Like, hello, just giving smiles away. Yes. You know, you get people that look at you like, why is this crazy lady smiling at me? But then you get those that smile back. And then they engage with you. And, you know, before you know it, I'm standing in the grocery store having a 40-minute conversation with a woman I never met before. But it happened. And those are the people that need that light in that moment. And that's what I was trying to bring that back to show people how every little bitty thing can sparkle, put some light into somebody else's light in those little bitty moments that you glaze over. And you don't even recognize those moments are important to somebody, but they do a world of good.
They really do. And you never know who's having a day, because sometimes we smile, but on the inside we're a whole mess. And so even you don't know who you speak to. You know, you may think you're speaking to that woman that is beautiful. She puts on her makeup. She's flawless, you know, a diva, whatever. But in the inside, she's dead. Like, need to be revived. Like, need your hug. Need that witty smile. Need that hello from across the grocery store. Or, you know, can I help you get this? Or, you know, can I aid you in this? You know what? Let me just buy you lunch today. And you never know what we wake up. So that's why we can't take things so seriously all the time, because behind the makeup and behind the smile, it can be a woman that's literally on the verge of a breakdown. Yeah. One step close to taking like all the pills she can find, and one step trying to understand why me? Why am I going through this? Why have I been tested this way? Why does this keep happening to me? Better yet, why do I keep falling in the same pattern or the same behavior? And so we can't see behind the makeup. All we see is this flawless diva behind this makeup, but that's a scarred woman right there. Yes, that's a scarred.
Yes,
Yeah.
and not to make light of that, but I was that woman for a very long time. That's why because I was that woman, I would get completely made up and put my clothes on and go outside, and people wouldn't think that I had a care in the world, and life was great and life was beautiful. But inside, like you said, I was dying. I was literally dying inside. And it took everything inside of me just to go and put that smile on for that 2-hour situation or that 1-hour event or whatever it is. It took a lot for me to get through that. You know, like I could possibly, like, real talk, crying the whole time I'm putting the makeup on. And I'm like, Lord, I got to stop crying if I want the makeup to stick. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's taken literally all of that energy just to go and put on a smile and rally for somebody else, because inside I was in a million pieces and everything was just dark and I was struggling, you know. So up until maybe a year, 2 years ago, year and a half, almost 2 years ago. So I definitely can agree with that. You never know what that smile or that kind word or just that hug can do for somebody.
Yeah. And absolutely. And that's why, and I know we're going to get to parts of my book and just a little. One of the pieces I wrote in there, it was sister to sister, because we have to learn to love each other. We first have to know what self-love is, but we have to learn to love each other. We have to learn to support one another, because what is all the chaos about? What is all the competition about? And a lot of times we're chasing something so superficial. We're chasing a body size. We're chasing the 36 inches. You know, we're chasing the jewelry. We're chasing the figure, the Coke bottle. We're chasing all those things.
All the wrong things.
Yes. A ministry, you know, we get upset because one sister's operating in a different capacity of ministry than us, and we begin to feel some type of way. But like, what is all the hate about? Like, be the incredible, undescribable woman that God created and the gift that He created in you. And so, if you do that, and we begin to gravitate to who we are as individuals, then guess what? I can strengthen you, because I'm confident in who I am, but it takes us to get there.
Yes, it does. And, you know, so let's get further into the book. Okay. I know you said that it is a collage of your snapshots of your life and so forth. So let's get a little bit further into that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to read, and I don't know why I didn't bring my glasses up here. I was trying to read the back jacket, but let's just go right into your first. Well, first of all, I would love to know, how did you come up with this title, this concept?
So for years, I've been writing, and I started just writing as a pieces for my friends, for birthdays or for anniversaries, and just small things. And God just forgive me to give me the words, and they became so inspiring. And I never knew what I had. It was just to encourage other people. And I remember asking God years ago, when I first got saved, to make me a godly encourager to all I meet, because that's important, to be able to encourage someone, even as you said, with the tears rolling and the mascara won't stick, because I got all this going on, but God, I got to get it together, because if I don't hold it together, I can't sit through this 1-hour meeting. So I have to make this work for other people, because I got to advocate for other people. So in just a way of encouraging people when I had no money, but I could buy, I had a printer and I had ink. And God gave me a passion to encourage people. So I would write the things and I would frame them and I would give it to people for birthdays, again, anniversaries, or just because. And then one of my friends was like, oh, you need to write. And I write about relationships that I was in, that I was out of, I was hoping to be, that I was hoping to enter in, I was delivered from, my process of deliverance. And I would just share it. And one of my friends was like, you ought to write a book. And I'm like, no, because, we never think we're that person.
Mm-hmm.
We never think that we can do this. Mm-hmm. And so someone in my circle wrote a book. And I was like, okay, so you never want to compare yourself with people, but I'm like, now if she did this, I can do this. So another year kind of went by before I reached out to GC4, and I had this whole collaboration of works, and back and forth with her. She was like, let's make this into a devotional. And I was like, I don't know about this going to be devotional material, but if you say so. Okay. And so pointers, I don't know if the church gonna kind of, embrace this like I see it, because we can't always embrace things. You have to be able to touch people, and we talked about this. You have to be able to identify. I have to be able to identify with the youth. Mm-hmm. I can't stay in my box and not know who Jay-Z is or Beyonce is, or right. Chris Rock. I can't do that. So I have to know what these people are about. I have to know what football is about. I don't have a child that plays football, but last year in my local community, I think I attended every football game, whether they was here or there, because I have babies that I've taught that are now in 12th grade. So if to hear me cry, holler out your name or give you a wave or whatever, or sitting with your family, it's a lot. Yeah. So just knowing what they go through. And so in this book, just knowing that being able to touch other people, to be real, to be transparent, because that's what they need to see. So I took the writings that I had and I sent one to her, my first writing, and she was like, oh my gosh, you got something. So we decided to add some scripture. We decided to add some moment of light at the bottom. And it became this collaborative work. And so when it began to come together, I had to write a few more, but of course I went through some more stuff. And I wrote about it, from marriage to divorce to grief. Like I said, from sister to sister to relationship to forgiveness and what forgiveness means. All these things are compacted in these 52 chapters, these 52 pages in this book.
So I'm not sure if you are prepared or if you have like a favorite passage, but I would love to hear one.
Okay. Let's read this one. Rejoicing beyond the trial, because we all go through trials and tribulations.
Yes.
My scripture was 2 Corinthians 5:17. And it said, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creature. The old has passed away, behold, the new has come. And the name of the piece is I Must Be Dreaming. I dreamt of a time I could laugh with my best friend. I dreamt of a time when we could sip wine by the outside fire pit centered in the backyard. I dreamt of a time we could ride in the car while sharing our visions of the future and how our successes would motivate us to conquer our next mountain we would face together. I dreamt of a time that we could have pillow talk most seductively, but abstinent from what others might think. Your charm seduces me into a deep, traumatic, and flirtatious mood, causing my thought process to be altered. Now I awaken out of my sleep and realize there is no you lying next to me. I dreamt of when we were friends and every decision was simple. And the moment of light to that is often in life, we hold on to people and situations that God is trying to remove from our lives. We block warning signs due to fear in our hopes of seeing what we want instead of what is accurate. We enter into relationships that it should have been a test instead of a journey. Be careful of the energy you connect to. God speaks about how we should intercede and stand in the gap for each other. However, some people come into our lives whom we may aid with spiritual needs and not to form a matrimonial connection. Are you asking God today to give you discernment to see those that are born new within him? How often do you connect with God before starting a new friendship or relationship? Dreams of love or friendship can cause us to see things as we want instead of what they should be. So how are you connecting today in relationship? With fleshly intent, or are you asking Christ the serious question to continually be in line with his vision and in accordance with his plan? And the scripture for the ending is 1 Peter 5:8. And it said, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking to whom he may devour.
I love that.
Thank
I love
you.
that. I love that you put your own personal, I mean, you guided us in with the scripture, but then you gave us a personal little story.
Yes.
And then you ended it up with something with food for thought, something that's going to nourish you and encourage you. I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
And that was such a good snippet. It was so relevant because I was just talking to one of my queen sisters yesterday actually, and that's we were talking about how we may hold on to friendships or relationships with people based on nostalgia, based on what it used to be and not where it is right now. And I was saying, like, I hold on because, and then that was the question, like, why are you holding on? And I said, well, yeah, we've been knowing each other for so long. And, I just see so much potential, and I know this person can be better, and I know this can happen, and blah, 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 all of these reasons to hold on. And when the reality is that this friendship is not progressing properly, because now we've come to a crossroads, as you will, where God is leading me, and I'm picking up the torch. I'm answering the call. You know what I'm saying? I'm being led, and I'm surrendering to that. Whereas this person is like, nope, I want to stay right here in this. I don't want to get out of this. This is who I am. This is where I'm gonna be. This is what my life is. I don't want to leave this. And I'm like, well, I gotta keep going. So it's causing that divide there. And then I recall Steve Harvey saying, you can't take everybody with you. You know what I'm saying? No.
Not at all. And just to even piggyback on that, because our gifts and callings are so different. And which answering what God has in store for you and what he has planned for you for all of your life. And now we're waking up to the reality of what he really has for us.
Yeah.
Everybody can't go. Everybody won't go. And when we learn that people are simply for seasons, and I'm with you, I'm a carrier, because we're nurturers. And when you nurture people, you take them into you, you make them part of you. And it's like in certain seasons, there were certain sisters I couldn't move without. And now I find myself, I'm so chilled right here. I have one day a week that I kind of rest, and I'm so chilled right here. But if one of them needs me in crisis, I'll go. But if it's not crisis, I don't move. And a lot of times we don't set that time aside for ourselves because we too busy want to answer the call for everyone. And as I said earlier, some people, they don't want to be saved. And we spend so much of our lives trying to save people who does not want to be saved. And so we get stagnated. We get stagnated. So we have to move. And, when we glance back over our shoulder 5 years later, girlfriend is still in that circle. She's still in that rut. And we spent 10 years of our life trying to get her out of that. But that's where she's comfortable. And just to elaborate, if I might, she's comfortable broke. She's comfortable relying on the government. She's comfortable with somebody else's husband or somebody else's boo thing, or having these babies and time after time can't figure out. And there's nothing against some of these things, but some of them it is against. But comfortable with the repeated behavior. She's comfortable with the drug addiction. And though we want her set, cleaned, and saved and set free, she's comfortable right there.
Right.
But not where I want to be. So guess what? I have to keep moving.
Yeah, and you're right about that. Some people are just comfortable right there. And you said something about making sure that we are looking at what is accurate, the reality of the situation, the accuracy of who this person is showing you, always have shown you who they were, and just being able to, now you have to really accept that.
Exactly.
Like you said, we have to accept the person for who and what they are. And in accepting them, what I had to learn is, me accepting this person for who or what they are doesn't mean that I have to stay. It doesn't mean that I have to continue to rock with the situation or the person. I still have a choice. Acceptance does not mean I took my choice away. Acceptance just says, okay, I accept you for who you are. I love you, my sweetheart, and I'm gonna pray for you, but I still have to go. You know what I'm saying? It's not judging them. It's not putting them down. It's not criticizing them. It's just saying, this just isn't right for me. This, what's good for you is great. What's right for me is better. So I have to walk away, and
because it creates a peaceful situation. It creates a peaceful situation for us.
Yeah.
For me, and I've learned, I think you just have so much in common, because I've learned the quicker I accept you for what you want to do and what your life is, the better off I am to get myself in a peaceful situation, because in a peaceful mindset, because I have to know that might be your happiness. And that may be all that you see is happy to you. But I have a whole nother agenda, a whole nother idea, a whole nother perspective of what my happiness and what my peace looks like. So if I know what my happiness and my peace look like, guess what? I have to allow you also to figure it out for you. And again, for you, it may, just to be working at this job that doesn't have benefits, but I don't want to just work at this job with benefits. I want to own the company.
Yeah.
And so it looks different for everybody. And as fast as we accept that, or we come into alignment with them and their peace, the better off we'll be.
Right. And we have to be open to the vision also.
Oh, yes.
Open to the vision and the calling. I hear people say, well, people have been telling me since I was 16, 17 years old that I should be an evangelist, or I should be a pastor, or I should do this, that I have a gift and I have this, and I'm just running. And now you're 45 years old and you like, girl, I'm going to seminary school. And I'm like, you finally answered the phone.
Yes.
So God has a purpose on your life, and God has a calling for you. We can run for years, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to pick that call up. You're going to have to answer that phone, and you're going to have to step up to that plate of the purpose that God has for you. You can't outrun God. What's the song? Your arms too short to box with God. Well, your legs too small. You can't outrun him either. So, we have to answer it.
You do. And I, even when you were talking, just reminded of a segment, is not in the book, well, part, but not all, where we run, people don't answer. And I can remember somebody telling me a story about, even people that's in the crack house, in the drug house, and they got those callings of God on their life. And, you sitting next to another addict, and both you guys are getting high, and one of you can tell you what thus say the Lord. And you like, well, how do you know? Because we're here together. It's that gift. And it's that calling that you cannot run from, nor can you deny anymore. But even in our mess, God will still speak. Even in our mess, the Holy Ghost will still reveal. Even in our mess, he'll still tell us that he loves us. I know, because I've been in my mess 1,000, 1,000,000, and 1,000,000,000 times. And he comes right back full circle to confirm that I am still his, in spite of, because his word declares that he'll never leave us, nor will he ever forsake us. So we think we get ourselves jammed because I'm laying with somebody that's not my husband, because I'm over here hating on her, because I'm over here being a booster, or, an unfit parent, whatever. God still speaks in those situations. And that's why we can always go back to every moment needs some light, because you don't know what that woman is going through. She may not can see if she can't pay her bills outside of this, outside of what she's boxed into. I can't afford the luxuries that I'm used to. outside of this relationship with this guy. But God is saying that I am your provider. I am your daddy. I am your kinsman redeemer. So I can and I will provide for you, but we have to step out and trust him. So all those things play a part in our gifts and our callings, because we have to understand who he is to us.
Yes, yes. And you know, and that is so true. And stepping out on faith is probably the hardest thing.
Yes.
Just what we call it, like that blind faith, just faithfully trusting that if we step out, God is going to catch us, and not only catch us, but carry us over it, you know, carry us through. And that's a scary thought for especially humans who are used to being in control.
Yes.
You know, we used to controlling everything. We tell you when to get up, when to go to sleep, when to eat, when to put your clothes on, when to do this, when to do that. Like we're so controlled in our actions and our day-to-day interactions and what we're doing, what we're not doing. So to take that step back and take your hands off the wheel and just allow Jesus to drive, you know, it's not easy. It's a lot easier said than it is actually done. But you know what? When you do it, it's such a major benefit, because not only do you feel lighter about the things that's been weighing you down in your life, but you see, you have a different clarity on things. You see things differently. You feel differently about certain things, and that has you moving differently than you've ever moved before. And then you start realizing, like, you know what, I'm moving. I've never really done this before, but I like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, this actually feels good. You know, and like, okay, Jesus, well, come on, let's keep on moving here. You know, and now you want to keep moving, right? Because now that fear is gone. Because now you've taken that step, and Jesus caught you. He carried you through. He put some light on some things for you, and now you feel so good about it. You just want him to keep. You just want to keep jumping off cliffs.
And it gives you that sense of peace when you step out on faith, and you don't know what happens. And God has you because he promised us that.
Yes.
And you get that one victory. And once you get that one victory, like you just said, we want to see what's next. So we begin to test the waters again, and we begin to see him change things. We begin to see him heal, revive, and restore again. So then, Lord God, I want to try you in the area now of my finances. You know, I've seen you heal. So now I want to try you in this area. So you begin to tithe, and you begin to do what you need to do according to the word of God. And then you see God move in this area. Well, God, now I trust you because you've healed my body, and now you've increased my money, and you've given me, because where there's vision, there's provision. And so now you've been giving me what we call context clues for my business, because now I wrote my vision. And I done made it so them that read it, I wrote up on table, so them that read it, they can help me run with this thing. So now I've tried you here. So guess what? So faith says, let me try you over here. So we began to try God over here, and God begins to show out over here. So like you said, it takes us further. It launches us further into the deep things of God, into the deep things of the kingdom, into the deep things of this life that we have. And so we go right back now. Trusting him is something we could tell our girlfriends about. We can tell our children, we can tell other family members about, because we have the experience
and we have doing testimony.
Yes.
And you know, it's funny you said context clues. It just made me think of something. I can remember, like, I don't do it as much as I used to, but I would be talking to, and I'd be like, listen, Jesus, I don't need, you know, I'm not good with context clues. Just give me the bottom line. Do I go left or do I go right? You know what I'm saying? And my mother would be like, oh, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm not good with the context clues. I just need plain English, left or right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, that is so funny that you said the context clues.
Because we want, and you know, and dealing with children and dealing with families sometimes, and just going through families that have gone through something like we've gone through things, we sometimes want our fix to be microwavable. We want to be able to, I got this issue. Now you say you're sovereign God, you say your daddy. Now you can fix this. So can you fix it right now so I can move on to my next thing? But sometimes he does not want to fix it because the Holy Ghost is such a gentleman. He will allow us. And Jesus, I love that he sits at the right hand of the Father, interceding for us. And when you think about it and the whole reality of what that means is so powerful because he's talking to God, even right now, about you and I in this conversation. And he's already spoke to him about what will happen even from this conversation. So we take these things and we want them to fix it. But in the process of that, there's so much that he is fixing in us because he can't launch us sometime out in the deep if we still playing in the shallow waters.
Yeah.
So why give you the mansion if you're not keeping the apartment clean? Why would I give you the Mercedes and you're not getting the tune-up on the Escort? Why would I give you these things? But he's such a good father. Sometimes when we think we're ready, he'll allow us to go out there and bump our heads. But guess what? Right? They're waiting for us. Like you said, they ran, somebody told them they were going to be the evangelist, the pastor, the apostle, the whatever. 45 years later, there you are in seminary school. Oh, now you got it.
Yeah.
But he's a loving and a good father. He is a redeemer of time. So he's going to redeem the time for them because to do what it is he called them to. And we, even in situations like that, we thank God that he is a God that holds time in his hand.
Amen.
And because he holds time in his hand, guess what? There is hope.
Yeah.
So, and we become hope dealers because even I gave the analogy about the family, that's burnt out. When you begin to pray for them and you begin to give, you are dealing hope for them. You are giving hope for them. So we have to too become hope dealers that we may give hope to other people.
And it's so important to give that hope, that ray of light, that little bit of that spark into somebody else's life, because sometimes that's all a person has to hold on to.
Absolutely. Yes.
There's times where people, their faith is shaky, but that little ray of hope is still sitting there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they're banking it on. That's what they're holding everything that they have on to, that little spark of hope. And that little spark of hope is that faith. That you're holding on to that hope, that is that faith the size of a mustard seed, that God is telling you that's all you need for him. And he's going to see you through. And you're right. Sometimes we do have to go through things. My mother used to tell me all the time, baby, you got to bump your head 10 times before you learn one lesson. And she was right.
Yes.
I did. I was a little but yeah.
And 10 after that,
right. After that 10 times, I'll be like, oh, okay, Jesus, I got it. You know what I'm saying? But why did it take 10 times to get that one lesson? And sometimes we're not paying attention. Sometimes we don't want to see it. Sometimes, like you said, we're running from it. We're fighting what we know is right. Because what is wrong feels better. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
But not even realizing that in doing that, we're causing ourselves more pain than anything. It feels right in the moment, but what's the trickle down effect of that one moment? You know what I'm saying? So at the end, like the year, I tell people now, I said, the life I'm living after this heart attack is way better than the life I was living before it. I mean, in my 20s, I was like, hey, and I felt like I was living life. I felt like I was getting it in because, I'm cabareting and I'm partying and you know what I'm saying? I'm dating, I'm out here just getting my life on. But now at this age, at 48, and at this point in my life, I feel like every day I'm excited. I'm not dragging when I get up in the morning. I'm not hungover. I don't have headaches. My body isn't as achy. You know what I'm saying? I have more energy. I have more drive. The things that I have planned for the day, I'm excited about each one of them. I'm living life in a whole nother way because God stepped in and he slapped me around a little bit and got me together
And
And
allows
this
you to
life
make
is way better.
and allowed you to make some mistakes on your own,
Yeah.
so that you can come out a stronger being like you are now.
Yeah.
Because
And
sometimes we think we never have to go through anything, but I beg to differ. We have to go through some trials and some tribulations, and we all are the product. The reason that we're continually here is because mother, grandmother, aunt, whomever prayed for us. And so we go through these things just to come out the radiant beings that we are.
yeah. And I usually say, we live life to make mistakes. From those mistakes, we gain experience. From those experiences, we gain wisdom.
Yes.
So you can't get to the top of the mountain if you don't start at the bottom. And along that way up, you're gonna hit some dense areas. Your rope might break sometimes. You're gonna have to reposition some things. Like you're gonna go through some things to get up that mountain. But once you get up there and you look at where you came from, it's a sigh of relief, right? You feel a sense of pride in yourself. And for me, that's how I kind of see my journey. I'm going through that mountain and the valleys and peaks and highs and lows and everything else. And, we encountered some things along the way, but the fact that I'm still here is the testimony. The fact that I'm still here says God isn't done with me yet. And there's something greater than me that needs to be done. It's something that's greater than me that is keeping me here. And once I understood what the purpose was, it's not saying like I still don't have stress or struggles because now I'm doing so many things, but the stress is a different stress. The struggle is a different struggle. And it's one that I appreciate. I value it. I look forward to it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that it's only here because what I'm doing is what God wants me to do. And that little fool over there always want to get in and snatch away some stuff that you're doing in the name of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So I expect that little struggle to come on, but I just pray that fool right back to where he came from and keep on moving. Because now so many of us can adapt that. I wish people can adapt that, and can understand like, he's only coming for you because you're doing something good, because you're doing something positive, because you have a talent, you have something of value. And that's why he's coming for you. So don't let it take you down. Pray that fool back where he was, and you keep doing the thing of value that is in you to do. And God will step in and block. He'll step in and block you when he really needs to step in and block that fool. He'll block him. You just stay the course.
Exactly. And sometimes staying the course, and we can, deviate back to that girl who doesn't, you've been lifelong friends, but just does not want to move. Staying the course, it means, like you said earlier, is sometimes divorcing those friendships, not abandoning them, but divorcing them. Because when you divorce something, it means that you separate from it. And when you abandon it, it means I'm just going to leave you for a little while, but I'll be back. But sometimes we are led to go back, just not in that season, because we cannot continue to go forth. We can't step forward, and because she might be, and not her personal self, but something inside of her might be that food. Her assignment may be tied to that food. And so we're connected to her and we can't leave her, but that's where our stagnation come from. That's where our emptiness, the void is coming from. Because every time I'm with her, it's something different. But every time I'm doing something without her, there's so much freedom. So we have to be so mindful of that because we want to hold on.
Yeah.
We don't want to leave. We don't want to forsake. But we have to move past all those things to get to where Jesus is causing us to be. And there may be a season that we can revisit the friendship, but not to go and stay, just only to visit the friendship. Hey, how you doing? Whatever, and kind of go on, because we have to keep building. We have to keep making miracles happen. We have to keep walking in the light. We have to keep showing ourselves, because one of the hardest things for us to do is to look in that mirror and see what God sees. Yeah. Because when we look in the mirror, we see the adversary, that fool, wants to remind us of everything we've ever done wrong. Yes. We have to fight past that And, we quote, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and we are. But I like to say that he changes, he trades the beauty in our lives for the ashes that we once were and the things that we once were. He already knew that was going to happen. So he's already dealt with that. He's not shaken and concerned about the mistake that we made in our past. So why are we? But we look at her and we just think the worst of her. Why not look at her and think the best of her?
And, and that's important to remember too, as far as your past mistakes. When I was coming out of my little situation, and one of the things that I did, which is one of the things that you stated earlier when we were talking about the certain steps to provide that light into somebody's life. And you said the first thing is prayer. And I would pray and read my scriptures and meditate. And I remember this one particular day, I just fell on my knees and I just repented. I just named every sin I could even think of, like, Lord, when I was 3 years old and I ate the X-Lax because I thought they was chocolate, forgive me for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just everything, you know what I'm saying? Just went down the line. But and even after that, and knowing that God heard me and he been forgave me for it, but
yes.
Just being in that situation of just bearing it all, stripping it all away and just turning it all over and putting it on the altar, even after all of that, and finally feeling forgiven, right? Because it's a difference when you say, Lord, forgive me, and you believe that he forgive you, but you don't really feel like you forgive him because maybe you keep falling on hard times or whatever. I noticed that even after that, of me honestly embracing the feeling of forgiveness, that fool will do that. Try to throw your past mistakes back in your face. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's through a dream or, a song will come on the radio. So now he pops the thought in your head. Remember when you was doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
been there.
To try to keep you held in that space of darkness and sadness and living and whirling in your mistakes. You don't have to keep living in them. Once you laid them on the altar and you gave them to God, that was it. You laid your burdens down. And now you can get up and walk away from that. And but that's hard for a lot of people to maintain in that, and to keep that those thoughts from penetrating them to the point where now they're repeating those mistakes again.
Right. And it comes to the fact, and we talked about faith earlier, you have to have faith. You have to believe that when you pray, he hears you. You have to believe that when you ask for forgiveness, because we don't always feel like we've been forgiven. Right. And so when you ask for forgiveness, you have to know by faith that he's already forgiven us. And so when you dwell on it, as he comes to make us see, or, somebody walk past you and, oh, that was the scent of the cologne that your guy wore, but you broke it out. So the adversary immediately takes our mind back. But when because sometimes you can't feel that he has, it comes from a relationship with God that that you've asked him to forgive you and he's already forgiven you. You can't, because if you wait sometime on a feeling, you're going to miss it. If you wait sometimes on that, I don't want to go left or right, but I need the clear cut, I don't want the context clues, God. I need to know that you've done this thing for me. And so even in that, we sometimes miss it because we're looking for certain signs, but it comes from having that relationship with him. It comes from being in that place of faith with him, knowing that he's going to do whatsoever he says he's going to do.
Yes, it does. I'm sorry, because I'm so much is willing, and this conversation is going so great. And is there a favorite part or a favorite snippet in the book that resonates more so to maybe your change, your moment of clarity into that change?
So it is, and I'll paraphrase, there is a relationship, and I, much like you, went to God just broken and saying, God, I want out. I need to be delivered. I need you to put some space, some time, whatever. I need you to sever the relationship because this is not what I want to do with my life. And so I can remember the furniture. I can remember where I was when I asked God that, and that changed something in my life from there. So, and what I've been telling people, even with this project, you have to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we don't want to face where we are. We don't want to look at the things that we've done or the things that we said, but we have to be honest with ourselves first, because if we can't be honest with ourselves, we can't be honest with other people. I don't care how we try. I don't care how we try to make it up. I don't care how we try to hide it behind the mask. If you're not honest with you, you're not honest with anybody else. And so, but there's been several instances that I've asked God to heal me from the wrong relationship, from the wrong entwinements, and just allowing me to be free, allowing me to be at peace. Because a lot of times, again, we have to see that peaceful place for ourselves. Because if you don't know that peaceful place for yourself, then you can never offer peace. And I counsel people, couples and women, I thought he was going to make me happy, when I marry him. I disagree. Because if you're not happy before you married him, he cannot make you happy.
Right.
If you didn't have a money mentality to buy yourself flowers when there's no one to buy you flowers, then you know what? If you weren't buying those flowers for yourself, honey, don't expect him to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Love on you first. So a lot of those takeaways, I had to get me in order. I had to check me first.
Yeah.
From those broken and those barren places. And then I began to do these things for myself. So when God does send a mate, and I be his true helpmate, I know what I'm doing because I'm already complete in him. So I'm not looking for a man to complete me. And I'm not being haughty when I say that, nor prideful, but I know that God is completing me. So, yeah.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you. I had a conversation not too long ago with a young lady, and we were talking about something similar. And she was just saying how she doesn't feel good enough or worthy of this particular man. And I said, well, we need to focus on that right there, not even him. Like at this particular point, I don't think you should be looking at no relationship with any man because of what you think of yourself.
Yes.
So let's fix that first. Let's start working on those things. Let's work on how you see yourself. When you look in the mirror, who do you see looking back at you? What are the conversations you're having with yourself? We need to get you encouraged and in love with yourself. You know what I'm saying? One of the things on my mirror is I must first learn to love myself, flaws and all, before I can give it or receive it. And that's important for me to be able to 100% without the makeup, without the Spanx, to love myself 100%, every inch of me, how I am, how I move, how I think, how I feel, how I operate in this world, how I treat people, how I respond to situations. Like I need to love everything about me, because once I'm in love with me, you can't tell me I'm not good enough.
Absolutely.
Because I'm loving me from his point of view now, because I've been able to look at me as the way he created me and love that person. So you can't tell me I'm not good enough for you. And if that's what you think, God bless you, boo. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Right.
I can agree, because I remember one time just not even being in a dating relationship, but just had a mutual interest with a guy. And I can remember, but our style is so different. And so, trying to conform, and I think I wrote about this, trying to conform to what somebody else wants, you lose yourself.
Yeah.
And so when we lose ourselves trying to become for someone else, then we really don't know who we are. But when you take that step back and that glimpse back, and just as you said, keep it moving, because you will always find yourself trying to perform for someone else. And as long as you are performing for someone else, you will never be authentic to your own self.
Right.
And that's what it's about. Because I can't starve myself because you want somebody that's 160 pounds. That don't work for my life.
Right.
I'm a little more than that, and I have time to do makeup or go to my sister's to put lashes on every time I move because that's what you desire. That's fine. But I would continue to say that's why a lot of people miss who their true soulmates are, because they're looking at the outer wrapper.
Yeah.
And they're missing the heart. Because if she was 260 pounds, 5'5", and she took excellent care of you, then that might be who you need to be with. But if you're looking for a Barbie doll, guess what? That's going to use you and abuse you and treat you horribly. But this woman genuinely cares for you, but you're looking at the outer wrapper. That's why we miss.
Yeah.
That's we miss. So yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I tell her is that, nobody's perfect. Nobody on walking this earth is perfect. So if you are dealing with a person who is making you feel like they are the perfect specimen, and now you have to reach their level in order to obtain the ring, then you need to walk away, because that person is not God and that person is not perfect. And who is that person to tell you what you like? Girl, somebody will love you for who you are. Somebody will find you in the broken pieces that you are, and they're not going to smash them even further. They're not going to kick them broken pieces to where you can't find them. They're going to sit there with you, and together you guys are going to put those pieces together, and you're going to glue, and you're going to stick, and you're going to fix, and they're going to work with you in a cohesive way of encouraging you, motivating you, making you helping you to understand you more. They're going to help you figure out how to love you more. They're going to put you on that priority list of love and care and concern and attention, so you can feel good about you, so y'all could be good together. You don't want somebody that's always saying it's you, is you, is you, is you, is you. Why isn't it ever him? Why does he get to keep pointing the finger at you and you don't get to point the finger back at him? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a two-way street. So that's my encouragement to my sister, to tell her, give her those type of things of advice and encouragement. Like, I hate seeing a woman that feels belittled or feel degraded because of something. Like, it bothers me.
Yeah, and it is. And she has to know that iron sharpen iron, because she has to know that, she should be grateful to have a sister like you that comes straight and not sugarcoating and make it, sometimes people will tell us when they think him or her is the best fit for us, well, you ought to be glad you got a man to do this. You ought to be glad you got a woman to do this. You ought to be grateful for this. And sometimes it causes us to stay in damaging relationships a lot longer.
Yes.
It takes us to, that self-esteem that we were talking about. It causes that self-esteem to diminish even the more, because now you want to make me feel like I'm so deserving of the mistreatment. Yeah. I'm so deserving of the things, the self-esteem issues. I'm so deserving or being home and and don't have to work, baby. Sometimes that comes with a hell of a price. Yes, and we're all to pay that price, because what happens when you stay home and you work, but what happens when he start coming home later and later, and I write about that in the book too, later and later, and you home and you taking care of the kids and you cook the dinner, but when he comes, he's tired. What price is that to pay just because someone is paying all your bills when you're capable of working? But, we have people say, girl, you honored, you blessed to be able to stay home and to do this and he pay all the bills. But what happens when there's nothing to support her self-esteem?
Yeah, I actually mentored a young lady and didn't even realize that that's what I was doing at the time. But
it happens.
She was in an abusive situation, and it was physical, it was emotional, it was verbal, it was mental, it was just a lot going on. And I remember when she first came to me about it, she was afraid to kind of open up. And I said, well, no judgment here. No judgment. What's going on? What do you need?
Yeah.
And after she laid it all out, the first question I asked her was, I said, is that the image of love you want your daughter to believe in? And she was like, and I said, you take a minute if you need to think about it. You know what I'm saying? But if your daughter brought that man home and said, this is the man I'm going to marry, I love him, would that be okay with you? Or would you be sitting your daughter down having a conversation with her? And she was like, I never thought about it like that. I said, so you have to get out.
Yeah.
Because you don't want your daughter to grow up thinking that that's what love looks like. You don't want her to think that that's what a man, that's how she should be treated by a man who says he loves her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't give her that. And you have time now, you have an opportunity and you have time to change her opinion and to change what she's seeing and to change that influence. So let's devise a plan and let's get you out. And that's what we did. We came up with the plan, and she saved her money secretly. She put her money to the side, and she, I checked in, we would check in with each other, and I would give her affirmations and we would pray together and everything. And then like 3 months later, she said, I got enough money to go buy a car now.
Awesome.
I said, well, yay, let's go get the car. You know what I'm saying? And he was pissed about that car. Like, who you sleeping with to give you money to get a car, And I told her, I said, don't argue with him. Let him be mad. Let him yell. Do not give him the response he's looking for. Because he's looking for you to respond so he can have a reason to put his hands on you and to take it further. You know what I'm saying? I said, so let him be angry. Let him stomp around and argue and all of that kind of stuff. Do not respond to that. Ignore that behavior all the way around. Keep you and your daughter safe. We need to find you a place. And like 3 months after she got the car, we were moving her out.
Wow.
Place. Yep, it was moving her out. And she has been flourishing it's like watching a rose in bloom. Like, she has just flourished so much. She's so happy every time you see her. Down to the tone of her voice is just happiness. You know what I'm saying? So, you can get out of those situations as well, but you just gotta, like you said, you gotta stay faithful.
Yeah.
And you gotta recognize your value of who you are and make a plan. I always tell women, especially in those type of situations, like you said, they're homemakers, so they're not working, and he's supporting them, and he's making all the money and so forth. So how do I make a plan to get out? Well, if there's a house allowance, skim $20 off the top, put it in the shoebox somewhere. They have these work from home jobs now. So while he's at work, you get online and you do a little work and bring in some income that he doesn't have to know about. My mama used to always say, your left hand don't have to know what your right one is up to.
Exactly.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's so many different options now for us now that we didn't have 10, 20, 15 years ago. Because 10, 20, 15 years ago, you couldn't work from home. There was no work from home jobs. You know what I'm saying? Now you have those work from home jobs that can help you build that money and that nest egg and that little sideline fund that you need to get away, to get you and your children into a place of safety. So, ladies, don't let them diminish you. Don't let them tear you down. And men too, because sometimes it's men out here who are with some women that are emasculating the heck out of them. Then pretty much just chop them off for you and stuck them in the freezer. So you can get out too, babies. You can get out too.
And it is crazy to see the role reversal even in that, because we want to keep him so locked into who we want him to be till we do all these things for him, and we stifle what the man should be in the home, or what the man should be in the relationship, because now we want him to be less than what God said that he could be, all because we feel like we made him a perfect specimen for us.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's so crazy how the roles have changed.
Yeah.
So, and that man, he'll take that verbal abuse, but guess what? But he has someone to encourage him. So they need not get it twisted that what all they doing is actually working. Nah, it's something that he's getting out of it to believe that.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, I had so much more to talk to you about. But I don't want to keep holding you longer and longer, because I wanted to ask you, and before I get into my little lightning round, it's something new that I'm doing this season.
Awesome.
I wanted to just ask you real quick, because I have a behavioral coaching service that I'm rolling out. Like I'm the licensing and everything, whatever, but a behavioral coaching service. So what I'm doing is I'm helping people target unwanted behaviors. And then what we're doing is we're working with the desired behavior, and we're figuring out how to replace those behaviors. And as you stated earlier, I'm doing a hand-in-hand, a step-by-step type of a coaching process. So you always have access to me when you need it. So if you're in a moment of weakness, you can reach out to me and I'm right there. Let's pray through it. Let's talk through it. Let's get you through it and make sure you stay on your track, right? And right now I'm mentoring a teenager in some multiple behavioral changes or whatever that she's going through. So what I wanted to ask you was, what is the hardest thing that you pretty much encounter when you're mentoring your teenagers?
Acceptance of where they are, because oftentimes with them, just with us, we have a hard time with the truth. We have a hard time identifying what we are. So, and I can remember a mom, I was part of Big Brother, Big Sister. And so with the young lady, everything was dark. She wouldn't talk to mom. She wouldn't talk to stepdad. Everything in the room was dark. She come in from school, she go. But I had to show her what her behavior looked like. And for her to be able to accept where she was. And so from acceptance, there has to be a plan. And so with that plan, it has to be small, obtainable goals. Because if them big goals that's out of their reach, chances are frustration is going to set in, and then they're going to say, forget it, because I can't reach this goal. But the goals that we set sometimes have to be things that they've already accomplished, but we have to reword them so that they can get the little bit of self-esteem and the faith begins to grow. Because as we said, when we see God do something in one area, then we go back and want him to do something in another area. So we start where they are.
Yes.
With a small goal. And from that goal, we're going to build, but we plan together to build the goals. So when we build together, then guess what? Now I'm walking with you through your growth process. So we're going to keep walking, and then we're going to keep walking. And this young lady came out, the room was no longer dark. Mom saw her flourish. Mom began to have conversations with mom. And she was my first mentee with this program, and they kind of did away with that program. But this child has gone on to, she may have a master's by now. We'll keep in touch. May have a master's by now. And I started with her when she was like 9th grade high school. And so mom took her out of the program, and then the program she put her in wasn't working. But we stayed connected, even though she was at not age appropriate for the program that I was a part of. But I went to her graduation for her bachelor's. And she just keep crying. And now she's a social worker, and she's able to help other children. So it starts with that acceptance as to where we are, because we don't always want to accept what God is showing us.
Yes.
And we always want to make a way out of or around what God is showing us. And we have to go back, like you said, that 45-year-old person got to go back and accept that this is what God called them to do. And so once we get that part of life correct, this is what we have to accept. Then guess what? Then we can move on with those small goals.
Great. And my mentee is actually a high school student, ninth grade, too. So that's cool. And one of the things she did ask me, she said, "Are you ever gonna leave me?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm gonna always be, here and accessible to you. I'm not going anywhere." And she's like, "I just don't want to not progress without you." Or,
Wow.
she's afraid that if I leave her, if something is, she's gonna fall off.
Yeah, she
And
won't.
so now we're still working on her self-esteem and that inner strength, so she could know, like, you don't need me here every day, all day. You got, you know what I'm saying? So I always tell her, like, you got this, you could do this. I believe in you. You believe in you, and if one of the things you said about having them see themselves and where they are, I had her do self-portraits. So I went out for her canvas boards and paints and brushes and everything. And I had her do me a self-portrait as to where she saw herself now and where she would like to see herself.
Yeah,
she didn't necessarily have to do like a actual self-portrait. She was able to express it any way she wanted to express it. So whether it was, a tree growing, a butterfly cocooning, or whatever it was, however she wanted to express herself, she was able to. But I wanted to see what she saw in herself. How did she see herself? How did she view herself? And then I wanted to see what are your aspirations? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? How do you want to happen? So that was a good eye-opening experience for her, or project for her to do, because she had never thought of that. She didn't think about her future self or what she wanted for herself. So that was a great project for her to actually think and put some things in perspective for herself. And now she was able to set a goal for herself. It wasn't about a goal that I'm setting for you. This is a goal that you set for yourself. So now let's break this goal down, like you said, in small, obtainable, workable pieces. And let's just conquer them one at a time. So great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so quick lightning round. So everybody, Faithfully Her is doing something new. Richard Heath, I'm giving you a shout out because before I came on your show, I was considering this, and then you did it on your show to me, and I said, okay, I gotta do this. So we're gonna do a quick lightning round. I'm just gonna ask you a few little questions just for us to get to know you on a deeper, different level. Okay. So answer however you want to, okay? Gotcha. The first question is, can you tell us 3 words that your friends would use to describe you?
Bold, honest, and free.
Okay, yeah. If you could be an animal, what animal would you be? And why?
A giraffe. A giraffe, because they're tall, they're exotic, and because they can see everything.
Okay.
Okay. Very visual.
Okay. Let's see. What was your favorite childhood toy?
See and say. Because take the little, you can change it and you can be anything you want to be on there. You can make any sound, any noise, anything you want to be.
Okay. And let's see, your favorite teacher and why?
My favorite teacher was Miss Wright. She was my English teacher because she was fair, but she was also loving and kind.
Okay. What is the best advice you've ever received?
To love me. To love me.
And last question, favorite thing, what is the one thing you like about yourself overall? Your favorite thing about you?
My favorite thing about me is that I love my family. And the reason I love my family because we all are different. And so we all have different personalities. We all see things differently, just like that giraffe. And we all bold.
Okay. So where do you think you get your boldness from?
Definitely my mother.
Okay.
She's very outspoken.
Okay, okay. Well, everybody, every moment needs some light is in Walmart. You can get it walmart.com. So if you go online to Walmart, go to the book section, Every Moment Needs Some Light by Miss Sharon Jackson. You will be able to pick up this book and purchase it. Again, it is being published on GC4 Enterprises, which is owned by our very good friend Jarita Cook. So all of her artists are available on walmart.com. So if you missed one and you need to get one, go to walmart.com and you can pick up this book. Every Moment Needs Some Light. This is a devotional style book. It will give you snippets of different situations that you may be experiencing in life, like our good friend Sharon Jackson. So she is sharing her personal experiences and sharing with us how through those personal experiences, you can find some light at the end of it to encourage you and to motivate you to continue continuing. Okay, never give up, never quit, never stop. Because there is light and there is hope and there is love out there. We just have to stay faithful. Sharon, before we go, tell the people how they can follow you, get in contact with you if they want you maybe for speaking engagement or, you know, mentoring services or anything. How do we get in touch with you?
Thank you. I am on Facebook, Sharon Jackson. I am on Instagram, Sharon Jackson. I also have a personal email address and I can share it with you. You can put it in the chat or you can put it on the screen or I'll give it to you. But it's array of light hc@gmail.com. And you also can reach out to GC4 Enterprises as a way of contact for me.
Okay, and that's arrayoflighthc@gmail.com.
That's correct.
Okay, so what everybody, we're gonna have all of this information in the description box. You will have more information on all the wonderful things that Sharon is doing as far as her ministry goes, her mentorship, her everything that she's doing will be available in the description box. Her contact information will also be available in the description box. Again, we will also have on my website, faithfullyherllc.net, you will also have the link to her book on the website. So if you miss it and you don't remember what to do or what was the lady name with the book, if you need to know, just come on to the website. You'll see the book right there and you'll be able to click on it and it will take you directly to her Walmart link for purchasing. Okay, so we're going to have all of that. And then also it will roll out in the newsletter. It would be a featured spot on the newsletter. So for things that you may have missed with Faithfully Her over the past month, it will be there also in the newsletter for you with which is an online newsletter. So it will also provide you with the link to get you to that walmart.com for purchase. Okay, so Miss Sharon Jackson, we thank you, we value you. I'm so you are so enlightening. I like you, lady.
Thank you, lady.
And you have such a beautiful smile and your personality, your energy and everything is just so calming. Like even with you talking about the things that, you know, you may have gone through or other people may have gone through, just in your talking is like a calming to it, you know. Yeah, it's very calming to me and it makes me just want to keep talking to you. So I'm gonna stop. Tell me to shut up. Okay. So let me stop. But before we go, I always like to give my guests an opportunity to share any final thoughts, any final words of encouragement or anything that you might want people to know or just walk away with.
So one of my absolute takeaways for anyone, first thing is to love yourself. And sometimes, you know, I meet people who say they haven't loved themselves in a long, long time. Fall in love with yourself again. Treat yourself to those flowers. Treat yourself to that extra bag of chips. Don't let no one hold you in condemnation to what they think you should be or what you think you should look like. Love who God has created you. If you want those extra 10 pounds gone, shed them for yourself. Don't shed them to make somebody else happy. And then also find your peaceful place. Get in your peaceful place. And then you'll understand what it is to truly connect. But most of all, if you do not have a relationship with Christ, I admonish you to cultivate a relationship with Christ, because that is the start of the beginning of loving yourself. So thank you again for the opportunity to share.
Amen. Y'all, do y'all feel that? Like I do. I feel that. Just,
Thank you.
I don't know what it is about your tone and the way you delivering your message, but I feel that. I really, really do. And I accept that. And thank you so much. I wish I could hug you right now. I just want to hug you. So I really do. Like, I just want to hug you. To everybody else, we give you guys hugs too, because everybody needs hugs. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Faithfully Her today. And again, make sure you hit the description box, get all the information from Miss Sharon Jackson. If you need coaching services and you're in Alabama, you're in the Alabama area, if you need a home care, child care, reach out to her at arrayoflighthc@gmail.com and ask your questions, inquire about services. She's here to help. Again, she's a part of several different community service groups where women are out here helping children and other women to get on their feet and do things differently than they've been doing it, and helping them in their faith and their journeys and their walks of life. So reach out to her, ask your questions, get the resources, get the help that you need. She's here, and she is a servant of God because she's offering herself out to help others during their times of need. So she is providing a light for every moment. In every moment that she steps in, she's providing some light to you. So get you some light, y'all, and hit her up, okay? Again, we thank you so much for tuning in and spending this time with us. And as always, to my Faithfully Her baby, step into your light and shine, shine, shine. I love you all. Have a blessed week in Christ. Bye-bye.
Thank you.